Adalyn forgets that I can teach the cakes. Not
Resurrection,
actually.
yeah.
Just this
And there were moments where like the teacher became the student because John had worked here for a while. And there were other things where like at that meeting where John said, "You just put your head down."
This one. You have to take it.
I was like, okay,
That's awesome.
I'm gonna trust them when I haven't known for 10 years. It's gonna be awesome.
Let me get you.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're here to celebrate Ms. Adalyn Reed on her journey as a teacher candidate. She has 30 minutes to answer 3 questions plastered around the room. Who does she aspire to be as a teacher? What experiential opportunities does she engage in to become a better teacher? And how is she going to maximize her internship this upcoming spring with Ms. Cartwright? And so we're excited to hear her talk about her journey so far and how she's going to be engaging in student teaching. As a quick reminder, Adalyn, we have a question and answer session at the very end. We'll ask our online audience to put questions in the chat. Kendra will be helping us interpret those online questions. When those questions are asked, whether here or online, if you could repeat the question so those online can hear it really well, that'd be helpful, and then answer the question. That is, yes, and we'll see if it works or not. Click it once. So you'll have to actually go click the mouse really quickly, and then it'll work. Good. Great.
So I would just like to thank everybody for coming today to support me in my journey as I become an agriculture educator. So if you guys haven't already had a chance to scan this QR code using your camera, that'll give you a virtual worksheet, not a worksheet, sorry, not a teacher method, a virtual information guide that will guide you through my presentation. So before I answer the 3 questions that I was asked to answer today, I would like to answer the question on my own of who is Ms. Reed and how did I get to be on this journey. So my background in agriculture started from a young age. My parents really instilled the values of agriculture in me, and I could not wait, as my mom could vouch for, to finally be able to be an FFA member, a 4-H member, after watching all my siblings go through the program. So there's one of my first documents I showed. From there, I got to experience some super embarrassing opportunities, also thanks to my mother, of square dancing for the next 3 years of my life. It was miserable. From there, I got to participate in cultural exchanges. We did one with Minnesota and one to Louisiana to learn about different cultures and their backgrounds in agriculture. And this led me to my high school career, and this is the end of my freshman year in high school. I was awarded the Star Green History for our chapter. And from there, I really knew that I wanted to be involved in the agricultural industry, and that's kind of where I belong. So then the next 3 years, I was a chapter officer. I served as chaplain, vice president, and president. And this is a photo of me and my chapter officer team for my senior year. And then there's one of my last market links that I showed, just to kind of show you a little bit about my SAE projects that I held. And all of these experiences led me to Penn State. So we'll move on to who I aspire to be as a teacher. So part of my teaching philosophy really has 4 main components to it. I want to create an inclusive classroom for my students, make sure that they all know that they're valued and welcome in my class. I want to encourage students to have a growth mindset and know that there's nothing that they can't achieve. Third, I want my students to feel empowered in my classroom. And this goes back to the inclusive environment that I want to create, making sure that my students know that each of their opinions are valued and welcome. And also, as an agriculture educator, I want to be flexible because different roadblocks come up and we're usually not prepared for them. So just being flexible is going to help with my teaching philosophy and my classroom management skills. So it also It's important to me that my program is a student-centered approach with experiential learning opportunities for my students. And some classroom values that I want to instill are honesty, respect, and hard work, because those are three very important qualities of agriculturalists. So part of my classroom management plan, I created posters that I can take to my cooperating center. So our classroom procedures, I want my students to enter the room on time, gather the materials, and turn in homework or pick up supplies on the way to their seats. Complete the assigned homework for the day, contribute and collaborate throughout the lesson, and then clean their space before leaving. Some daily expectations in my classroom. I wanted my students to remember, follow, raise, and respect. So I want them to follow the rules, directions, and policies. And this is just going to help with classroom management. Raise your hand, your confidence, and your goals, and respect yourself, your peers, and your environment. So if there are classroom management issues in my classroom, they will result in some consequences that align to the consequences at my cooperative center. So level 1 is going to be the reminder. Level 2 will be a verbal warning, just a step before the conversation with the teacher, just like a one-on-one conversation. Getting down on that student level and just making sure that you're hearing their needs too. And then a phone call home and an office referral if it gets to those levels. So I know there's a couple of people in the room that don't really know a whole lot about school-based agriculture education. So one difference that it has between general classrooms, we focus on a three-circle model that involves classroom instruction with laboratory, SAEs, and FFA and leadership. So that just gives you a little bit of an overview. So an SAE is a service or work-based learning experience, which is a supervised agricultural experience. And these are like projects that students can have outside of the classroom that contribute to their purpose and their potential in the classroom. Also, FFA is focused on premier leadership, personal growth, and career success. So these are different conferences and opportunities that students wish to participate in as a national organization that is student-led. And then the classroom and laboratory instruction, those are interactive and exploring and engaging learning. So a model program for curriculum for my ideal ag program starts with an intro to AFNR class, where students first are going to experience SAEs, and then they'll move into an animal systems or plant systems or agriculture mechanics pathways. So from there, they can take small animal science, large animal science, vet science. If they choose the plant systems pathway, they can do greenhouse production, floral design, and landscape design. And then agricultural mechanics will lead them to construction, welding, and power. So part of my comprehensive lab integration plan was this $15 project that we got to build. It's a drill storage and charging station, so you can hang this in your shop space after the students build it, and you store like your drills in here, and then the batteries and the chargers. So I made this project because it incorporates laboratory safety, proper use of equipment within the lab spaces, and budgeting techniques, like budgeting skills. And the purpose of this, it can be used for storage in the ag mechanics shop after your students build them, or you can use it as an FFA fundraiser for your shop. Some ways that I would like to integrate SAEs into my future program. I want SAEs to be part of their grade. So students are going to receive an independent study credit for SAE. Since usually they don't have too many extra spaces in their schedule to have a full class for SAE. So this is a way that they can still get the credit for putting the time and effort into their record keeping and their progress through the SAEs. I also think it's super important to have lab spaces available at the school to provide space for animals to live or places in the greenhouse dedicated to that safety project so that students that don't have access to those facilities at home can still have an SAT and be successful in that. And I want to provide career-based opportunities for students that are interested in going to the workforce. Some FFA integration in my future ag program would be providing incentives for students' grades, for student attendance, and that can be through grades or bonus point opportunities. And incorporating FFA variety, so one day every week, we're going to dedicate that class period to focusing on FFA and leadership and growing in our career success skills. Additionally, I think that fundraising to attend events and make sure that you have the proper funding to be able to provide your students with those opportunities to travel and see new places within FFA are also very important. Some program recruitment ideas that I came up with, having community recreation night. I've always heard that your students are your best recruiters, and where their friends go, they're likely to follow them. So holding different activities within the community will help bring in students that maybe not have been exposed to agriculture before. Some different opportunities like within the school would be an open house and a do buffet where students can come up to their ag program and see all the different components. For community integration, a community-based unit of instruction that I'm planning to incorporate in my future teaching would be focused in a greenhouse production class where students will build raised garden beds and be able to take those to the elementary school and grow produce for consumption, and also using that as an opportunity to teach the elementary students about their food and where it comes from, and then the harvest from the gardens can be donated back to the community. So what experiential learning opportunities have I been engaged in to become an agriculture educator? So some of the key courses that I have taken at Penn State include AB 349 and 350, which are agriculture mechanics classes taught by Adalyn. So in these classes, we learn a lot about teamwork and how to build different things. So we did a unit on plumbing, we did some masonry and hardscaping, and we did some work on the unit. So I think that those two classes combined help me not only learn the skills of ag mechanics that I was going to have before coming to Penn State, but also learn how to incorporate those and how to teach those. English 202C is a technical writing class, but I got the opportunity to create a construction guide for a hydroponic system, so I think that was really cool. And then Bio 127, I learned a little bit about, it was a full course about plant biology, so it was really in-depth in talking about plant anatomy and plant growth and different hormones that we can use. Certifications that I have are like my AEC certification, sorry, OSHA 10 and NST, which is like the certified investment. Professional development opportunities that I have got to participate in during my time at Penn State. So the top two pictures are from the Inquiry Institute. The top right picture is when Jessica Brody, she's a ag teacher in Utah, and she came to tell us a little bit about inquiry-based instruction and how she uses that in her classroom and giving the students the autonomy during their lessons. We also got to attend the NAA conference, which is in New Orleans, and we just got back from that a few weeks ago. We had a bunch of different professional development workshops And the bottom right picture is me and two of my cohort members. And one of the other classes, we were facilitating a workshop at SLC, which is a FFA conference in Altoona. Some experiences that are relevant to my future as an agriculture engineer. I worked at the Penn State Center for summer, and I also worked at one of the garden centers. I wish I had more pictures of these, but to be honest, these were summer internships, and I was super hot and so I was a little bit about inclusion and diversity and some courses that help you learn about those. Workforce education courses, all of these were all online for me. I feel like I really got a huge impact from them, learning about different ways we can accommodate for our students' individual needs, and providing modifications within laboratory spaces. We also had a chance to talk to Dr. Tiffany Ferguson from WT Saul High School in Philadelphia, and she came to do a culturally responsive teaching workshop. And from that, I really gained the perspective of, I used to think that diversity had to just be your skin color or, visual differences within people, but I talked to her a lot about like how I'm just teaching at West Green and the diversity is pretty predominantly a white school. Which is kind of how it was where I grew up. So I was like, I don't know if I really have any diversity that I don't need to. But I learned that cultural diversity is more, and culturally responsive teaching is more than just the color of your skin. And I included this picture because it made me remember one of the things that my teacher from high school said that it takes all kinds of times to make the world feel better. So how am I prepared to maximize my students' interest in knowledge? I will be completing my student internship at West Green High School in Adalyn, PA. So this is an PA. It's as far southwest as you can go, in Green County. My collaborating teacher, this picture of us, is Miss Carly Wright. Super awesome, super excited to work with her. We're pretty like-minded people, so I think it's going to be a good fit for the semester. And West Green is a two-teacher ag program, and Mr. Max Snyder, which is also Penn, takes care of the ag mechanics part. The facilities at West Green, they've all just recently been remodeled and updated. There's 2 classrooms, ag mechanics shop, floor design lab space, food science lab, and a greenhouse. And one thing that I think is pretty special about West Green, although it is a super small school, graduating class of about 40 students, their ag program enrollment is 60 students. So it's like 20 more members in the ag program than the graduating class, which is pretty good. So for the 339 evaluation of West Green, I think their strengths are community involvement. They have such a strong support system that they really never have any problems with funding or finding things that they need for their students. And their student membership, again, just to reiterate that point, I think it's super awesome that their school is so supportive of their community and their FFA program. So some improvements to be made. I know that they struggle a little bit with their FFA alumni chapter. So I think that reaching out to their members in the community and really showing them the potential that these students have after completing the FFA chapter, after being completed your FFA chapter, would help initiate some involvement there. And also, I think that West Green has some room to expand on their SAEs. A lot of them hold entrepreneurship SAEs where they raise animals for the parents, but I would like to see them grow within that area as well. So this is a summary of the courses that I will be teaching. This is also in the virtual document if you can't see it. But I will be teaching a 7th grade introduction class with an animal science, plant science, and leadership and SFA unit. Next is that science, where there's career exploration, animal nutrition, and animal society. And then I'm also have the opportunity to teach a little bit with combined with a framing unit for that I'm teaching for math. And then we have a senior leadership class and some more. So some personal strengths of mine that I think I am contributing to my screen is relating to students. I think that sometimes I'm not super strong in a content area, but the way that I'm going to be able to relate to those students and show them, hey, I've been in your shoes before, will be beneficial to their program. Also, flexibility. I had a lot of bumps along the road, like literally constantly. Nothing in my life usually goes as I planned. So just being flexible and being able to take that to the program is going to help my success as an ag teacher. I also have a growth mindset. I'm not too stuck in my ways. My parents might disagree. But I think just having a growth mindset and always striving for progress and not perfection is also a functional strength of mine. Some goals that I have for myself to grow. Time management. So sometimes I do feel like there's two facing my responsibilities like on my head. So just being conscientious of the ways that I spend my time, and then balancing the work and home life. I don't want to get too caught up in taking school to work and taking work home. And then also expanding my content knowledge. I'm not super great, I would say, at mechanics, so that's something that I worked in pretty long as I got less grade. So as a conclusion, I just wanted to acknowledge my ag teachers from high school. They're kind of the reason I'm sitting here today. It's kind of super weird because I also have been watching these presentations for the past 6 years of my life. But they really inspire me to become an ag teacher for multiple ways for each of them. So in the next 3 pictures, I kind of just needed this reminder, and I knew that I would need it at the end of my presentation. These are 3 of my nephews. I promised my nieces are involved in agriculture too, and they do like holding my chickens and feeding my lambs. But at the end of the day, I think it is really just about the students and the influence that you're making on the future generations within the agriculture industry. And the last thank you to my family. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of moving parts, but we always seem to work together and support each other. And I just want to thank everybody, including my board members, for coming out today and participating. And that's me on my trip.
So again, now we're going to move to the question and answer portion. So if you have a question in the online audience, please put that in the chat. Kendra will communicate that back to us. Adalyn, I'll get started with the questions. You mentioned goals in time management, and I would love for you to maybe illustrate a specific example of how you expect to manage your time efficiently in the spring semester.
So I have a lot of, the question was, how do I plan to manage my time during the spring semester? I have a lot of different opportunities during the day while I'm at school to be observing and also information to like be working on different things for the next day. So just being ahead of that and planning my weeks out, that'll give me a better idea of what needs done that day and what I should prioritize.
Thank you.
Adalyn, you mentioned, oh, I love having animals on site. Could you talk to me as an educator how you will make sure that there is appropriate lab management protocol? Or are you just going to take care of everything to keeping those animals alive?
The question was, will I be taking care of everything to make sure that animals in my program are alive and well cared for? The answer to that question is no. I will not be the only one responsible for that. This is a student-led organization and instilling those 3 characteristics of hard work and responsibility to my students attending super crucial to the success of the program. So a lab management plan to help with that would incorporate a schedule of which student is responsible for which animals, when they need to be fed, when pens are cleaned, and then also I, as the advisor, would be monitoring that and making sure that everything is getting done.
So you mentioned briefly your summer work experience. So it's a two-part question. One, how has that contributed to the portfolio of tools and experiences that you're going to pull into the classroom student teaching? And two, would you do the same things that you did over again if you had a chance to redo your 4 years?
So I'm going to start with the second question first. I definitely have a lot of things that I would change about my journey at Penn State and even beforehand. But sometimes failures lead to greater successes, and you just have to get through those to realize that. Could you repeat the first?
Sure, and I apologize, I should have prefaced the second one, just focusing on summer work experience, right? So would you do the same things over the summertime that you did over the last couple of years? And what did you take from that that you're going to put into your classroom this spring and beyond?
So I really enjoyed my opportunity to work at DHG Center. It was pretty intensive labor that I was not used to or expected. I called my parents a few times trying to learn that. But I got through it. I completed the summer internship, and would I do it again? Yes. I lost 1 pound, so that was super cool. But also, I got the chance to gain some success skills that I can take to my program, and that would be like animal handling and animal management. And then part of my second summer job at Laurel Nursery, I learned a lot about greenhouse management and different ways that we can market products within the greenhouse.
Thank you.
One on two, activities and also found I was super proud of you. What are you looking forward to most during student teaching?
I think the thing that I'm looking forward to the most during student teaching is building the connections with students, really learning about their community, and just being there for the students day in and day out. And just letting them know that I was also once in their shoes trying to figure out my life. And I'm still not really there yet. So just being relatable to my students and building those connections.
Two-part question, Adalyn. I really like your $15 project. Very nice, practical, it's utility value. What the image that you showed in your PowerPoint there, what platform did you create that image in?
That was on the schedule.
Look into that. Very good. Part two is what other ideas to apply the use of SketchUp in other content areas, perhaps other than ag mechanics, do you have that you might share with your teaching students?
So I'm not sure if this is useful in SketchUp specifically, but different virtual platforms that I found super helpful for, especially when I did my micro teaching experience virtually. I used a virtual floral design, so students, you can import flowers or they can search them through the flower catalog of the wholesale website, and then you can import those images onto a platform where the students can design the different arrangements virtually.
So Adalyn, I know that you had started at a Commonwealth campus. As a teacher, you're going to be giving lots of career advice and college advice to your students. What would you say to them about starting at a Commonwealth campus and pursuing ag ed? What advice would you give them, I should say?
So some advice I would give underclassmen students that are starting out at Commonwealth campuses, really just be involved and try to be as connected as possible to the cohorts at University Park and working with Dr. Curry, Dr. Yu, Dr. Foster, and all of the staff here. personally, my time at Altoona, I felt pretty disconnected. I was able to go on a few trips that helped me really get back into the groove of why I'm in the program. But it is easy to feel like you're alone when you're at a Commonwealth campus and there's not too many of you that are in the same major, working towards the same goals. So just networking and communicating with upperclassmen within the major would be my piece of advice.
Well, I'll jump in next. So as an FFA advisor, you're going to have opportunities to work with CDE teams and LDEs with your students. So my question is, should CDEs that are not aligned with your curriculum be participated in?
So the question was, should CDEs that are not aligned with my curriculum be participated in for my students? I think this question goes back to the student-centered approach that I want to incorporate into my program. So there's going to be different students that maybe I have a different background than those students, so that particular area or career development event is not incorporated into our curriculum. There's no reason that those students shouldn't be provided that opportunity still to participate in this event. So yes, I would allow my students to participate in any career development events or leadership development events that they choose.
Thank you for that response.
Adalyn, you went to Derry High School.
I sure did.
Yeah, you did. I want you to tell me something from your experience, very specifically, your experience at Derry High School that you hope to make sure that you saw in your team, that you hope to make sure you carry forward to West Green. Behavior, practice, process, something about Derry, like the Derry magic that you want to take on to West Green.
All right, well, contrary to belief, I do not know Derry College, even though I went to Derry. But within my approaches program, I did have the opportunity to work with Mrs. Carly Beckle and Sir Roy Campbell. And they're, if you know them, they're two very different people that bring together unique qualities that make that program work and happen. So I think that just that collaboration between whoever my colleagues are and my future coworkers is going to be essential and crucial to the development of the program.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the audience?
So, Adalyn, throughout your whole presentation, it's very obvious, like, you're in it for students. You want students to succeed, invest in them, and in large part that's due to the agriculture educators you have. What do you think high school students need most, and how can you provide that to them?
So I would answer this in two parts. I think that students need autonomy in their learning. If they're not interested, then you're not going to be motivated and passionate to teach those students that material. And the second part would be relationships and connections with the teachers. These can be professional relationships, but I know something that I want to incorporate whenever I go to West Greens. A lot of their, I think majority of our chapter officers are also like the starters on the volleyball team and they're on the football team. So just being in that community with them and just making those connections outside of the classroom is something that I want to take with me on my teaching journey.
There's no other questions. Would you help me in congratulating Ms. Reed one last time? I'll conclude the public portion of the presentation. I ask the loved ones to retire to 2:14. We're going to have another just quick follow-up and examination on the rest of the presentation for the next few moments. Our next presentation will be at 1:30 tomorrow. Mr. Brody. Thank you all for coming.
I have a 2-part question. What platform did you use?